Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement and a very special Thunderbolts edition of My Mom's Basement. The long-awaited movie has finally hit theaters. By now, I've seen it twice. Clem has seen it. We are pre-release, so we don't really know what the world thinks about it yet. We know the critics and the pre-screener people love it, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. But here we are. We were talking about this day when we recapped and reviewed Captain America: Brave New World. And we called it aggressively mid. And we said we think that Thunderbolts is going to be a little bit better than that one, and we think Fantastic Four is going to be even better than Thunderbolts. We think this is the start to our rise here, and I think Thunderbolts delivered on exactly that.
Yep, you said it perfect. You called it solid. You said it was solid in the vid, solid movie, which is a win for Marvel. It feels like a huge win for Marvel. I think if Captain America: Brave New World was solid, I think we would have felt like that was a win too. Yeah. But it feels like a little bit more of a win here because we're that much closer to Fantastic Four. We just had Born Again, and this one had a lot less hype than, most Marvel movies. When this got announced, it was like, this could get bad. This could get
a lot
ugly.
of criticism of the team, like the roster they selected. A lot of people were going, well, there's 3 just super soldiers. Like you didn't pick people with other powers or anything like that. I know the Abomination is a big part of the Thunderbolts in the comics and stuff. I mean, Thunderbolt Ross is a big part of the Thunderbolts in the comics. So there's a lot of criticism around it. Yeah. And a lot of people going, oh, Marvel's just trying to do a Suicide Squad thing. And it's like, they kind of are, but it's unique enough where I wasn't like, oh, this is just the Suicide Squad.
Well, let's be honest, too. They are picking these characters out of movies and shows that a lot of people didn't like, right? You have Black Widow. You have Falcon and Winter Soldier. What else?
You have the villain from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ghost, who like people didn't dislike by any means. People liked that movie for sure, but I think most people considered her whatever, forgettable. I actually always liked her. I thought the phasing power and all of that stuff was cool, but yeah, it's a lot of, Taskmaster herself, which we'll get into, she was like the most hated part of Black Widow because of how much they changed about the character's lore and the history, and it's not like Taskmaster is, and she doesn't have the skull mask and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I think they picked a really good roster because this is the roster that had the chemistry that these actors had. I wonder if they screen tested anyone else. I don't know if they do that. I'm sure the script was in the can much before screen testing happened, but was there any thought of, you think, putting Tim Roth in or putting someone else in? We talked about it in the theater. We kind of, at least I expected some of those people to cameo in a quick scene. And this movie doesn't rely on cameos or any like cheap pops or any spectacle things like that. I think that's part of the reason why it's getting so praised by critics, because critics will even look at a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine or Spider-Man No Way Home, and they'll go, it's a spectacle fest. It's not a real movie. This feels like a real movie.
This feels like a real movie with a real plot. Everything advances. It makes sense. I'm looking here just kind of at the timeline of everything. July of 22 is when Feige said the film was in development. There was reported Harrison Ford would join the cast. So we had Harrison in there for a hot minute, obviously with the Thunderbolt Road stuff. Thunderbolt Raw stuff. Stephen Yen, as you talked about, was going to be Sentry at one point. So you have to think in 22, when this got announced, we had a bunch of the stuff with a bunch of the characters we did not like, or at least we did not like the shows and the movies they were in. And Marvel was, 22 was probably about as dark as it got. Secret Invasion, which we'll cross that off the bingo board already. But this is going to be a bingo board episode. We talked about it beforehand. Definitely a bingo board episode. Secret Invasion is probably the lowest, but like before then, you're like, what the hell? Endgame was just 3 years ago, and all the different COVID and different issues we had along the way. Mm-hmm. So when they're like Thunderbolts is coming, it's like, guys, you can't keep.
It's like, is that what you're putting the chips in for? Like Thunderbolts is what you're betting on here, and it's like definitely a bet that is paying off. Word of mouth is so good. Everyone that's seen it seems to love it. I think here's the thing. The 95 on Rotten Tomatoes, as we mentioned in the last episode, is crazy. It gives this expectation that it's one of the greatest Marvel movies ever, which it's not.
I'm doing this right now. I'm not hitting the brakes on the 95%. I'm hitting the emergency brake where we're doing like Fast and the Furious skids. Like that, I didn't even realize that it was at 95%. That's
what I was going to say. in the context of the Rotten Tomatoes scale, which we've also talked about over and over again, it kind of makes sense to me, because maybe this isn't the best Marvel movie, but I think it's one of the least bad. I know that's like I could pick a better adjective, but there's nothing to pick apart about the movie, in my opinion, after seeing it twice, 2 nights in a row, where you could be like, they kind of whiffed on that. They could have done that better. Like, there's good character development, there's good chemistry, there's good comedy. I know they swing a lot with the comedy in this movie, but I think 80 to 90% of it hits. I think a lot of it hits, and it's not as big a swing as like a Guardians even. It's a little bit pulled back and grounded from that. It's a good, simple story. It's a good villain, to be honest. Like, villain, you used loosely, obviously. It's like one of those things where it's just like an antagonist, I guess you could say. Julie Louis-Dreyfus is awesome, and I love having her in the MCU. I loved when she made her debut. It was like, oh shit, she's going to be in the MCU. This is great. And this is the first thing that I feel like she's really gotten to like sink her teeth into and get a ton of scenes for. And she just fits like perfectly. It totally fits as the opposite Nick Fury, kind of. She's putting together, like, she doesn't put him together, but kind of does in a roundabout way. Before we get into like the spoilers and stuff, I did want to say I put together a scale, and when we're talking good and great, I wanted to read off my scale. And now this isn't 100% final, but this is what I'm thinking in my mind, especially when I'm rating movies on Letterboxd, which some people see some of my ratings, especially for Thunderbolts. I gave Thunderbolts 3.5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. And a lot of people hit me up and were like, Robbie, I was so excited, and now I'm kind of bummed. Like, you love everything and you're not even giving it 4 stars. And I'm like, well, let me put my scale in context for everyone. Okay. So I sent you this, Clem, and I said, I think I figured out this is my scale. A 5-star movie would be perfect, all timer, like one of my favorite movies. I think it's absolutely wouldn't change a thing. 4.5, phenomenal. I'll use that word. Spectacular, tremendous. Probably another movie that I'll go back to and rewatch a bunch. Or a movie like, I haven't rewatched this because I just watched it for the first time a few months ago, but like Heat. I remember I watched Heat and I was like, that's fucking 4.5 right off the rip. I loved it. 4, great. Like, I put Deadpool and Wolverine at 4. I put Guardians 3 at 4. Like, great. We're trying to make the G word great again, right? So great. 3.5, really good. That's what I'm giving Thunderbolts. Really good movie. 3, good. 2.5, average. 2, meh. 1.5, okay, bad. Now we're in the bad range. And that's part of my scale on the curve. I got to get down to 1.5 for it to be bad in my mind. 1, horrible. Half, unwatchable. Half I gave to like Joker 2. I wouldn't recommend that to my worst enemy.
And then is there a 0? Is 0 on the scale absolute dark, essentially?
The void. 0 is the void.
The void, yes, exactly.
0 would be a do not finish, I guess. Like, I didn't even make it through the end of the movie or something. But when I put Thunderbolts 3.5, I don't want people to think like I thought it was average, because that's definitely not average for me. 3.5 would be really good for me.
It's really tough, because I was looking at some of the reviews that have come out. I think they had like a Reddit thread on all the reviews that have come out through the different publications, and it's like 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5. I'm like, is it a 4 out of 5? Because in my book, it's like a 4 out of, and we're doing ball scale here. Shout out the ball scale.
Yes, we own it. The IP.
I always think, like, if you have the Infinity Wars and you have like the End Games, which are the 5s, then you have the next cup below, and then it's like the Guardians. Like, maybe Guardians 1 is for me as a 4, where Guardians 2 is, say, a 5 or a 4.5, because I absolutely love that movie. I'm like, I can't get this up to there. It's almost like you need a 3.75, where it's like, it's kind of in the middle. But I think solid for me, I guess, would be like a 7 out of 10, which is what a 3.5 out of 10, 5 is. So it's like numbers. It's hard. It's the fucking internet. Everything's subjective. You're going to rewatch it 3 more times. You're going to have probably different opinions on it. But I'll use your airplane analogy. We finally have gotten into the, like, take the seatbelt signs off. We feel like everything is good. Daredevil, it's like they're giving you like some peanuts. The peanuts were just fine. You're very happy. You're filling up. You're feeling good. And at this point, the captains came on this loudspeaker at the beginning of the flight, said, hey, we're going to have some bumps over Ohio. And you just look at the map in the plane and you realize we've made it through Ohio and there were no bumps. Like, there was no turbulence during Thunderbolts. And I see this as an absolute win. An absolute win.
I do as well. Let's get into it spoiler wise now. So if you're not interested in getting this movie spoiled for you, which it's not like we're going to spoil crazy things. Like I was also talking to Jake about this. Jake Bass from Barstool was at the screening last night. And he was like, yeah, I didn't get anything spoiled for me. And I was like, honestly, it's not like the most spoilerable movie because it's or spoilable. None of those are words, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's just the plot advances. It's one thing happens to another. And I guess you could talk about like Sentry type stuff, but everyone knew that was coming. And I mean, there's one spoiler you could get off right off the rip. So,
which I mean, everyone
we also knew this was coming.
Letting it be known anyway.
Let's get into it. Taskmaster. Boom. Right off the bat. I mean, maybe 15 minutes into the movie, maybe 20 minutes into the movie. And it actually got like almost a chuckle in Northy. Like it got like that. Someone said, oh, it's like that, which it could have presented itself like that if they hadn't announced the rest of the cast for the next Avengers movies. Like I actually thought the scene where they're fighting Sentry, to skip ahead, we'll go back, but when he throws Red Guardian out the window and then pulls him back in, I thought if we didn't know David Harbour was going to be in the next couple of movies, when he throws him out that window, there was going to be a second of, oh my God, is he about to kill Red Guardian in front of his daughter?
Yeah, that definitely helped wrap everything up. It's kind of a little Rogue One-ish, right? With especially the chairs. And you said that there was pictures of Ghost fighting with Taskmaster's like weapons or something like that.
Yeah, she had her sword. Yeah, and like in the poster, someone quote tweeted it like, "Oh, so nice of Taskmaster. It might be on this fucking thing." No, they put her on the box. Which shout out again, Liam Crowley hosted the Screen Rant screening, and they gave out popcorn in these Wheaties boxes. But they put her on all the promotional material, which also nice for that actress. She gets to go on these press tours and everything. She showed up for one day of work on that set. They show her face for 1 second.
Yeah, that's true. Shout out to their agent making sure he can cash that check too.
Yeah.
I will say, based on what I heard about the Taskmaster in the comics, it seems like they're like, listen, we fucked this whole thing up. We know we fucked it up. Yep. We're just gonna kill this Taskmaster, and we're gonna get another Taskmaster maybe in the future that is as sweet as the original one. But yeah, like I if they don't do it, they don't do it. Whatever. I don't have a feeling either way about the character, but it sounds like people were originally bummed how bad they fucked up the character. So by just killing this one, it's basically like Marvel, whatever this last phase was, Marvel 2020 to 2023. Boom! Shot in the head. Dead.
I mean, is there any world in which when Taskmaster got out of the Red Room and she no longer had to work, you know, as a bad guy or whatever, could she have found a love interest and she fell in love, and then this guy fucking finds out that she died and he dons the Taskmaster outfit now, but he wasn't as good as she was in combat, so he needs to download the intel of other people? Like, you could definitely work out a way where Taskmaster is the villain of Thunderbolts 2, and that would be kind of sick.
Nope. And shout out to us.
Full circle thing.
I'm going to just say it. I'm pretty sure we have spent more time on Taskmaster in this movie than any other podcast that's going to talk
about the movie spent on Taskmaster. Let's go back to the beginning because I wanted to shout out the first scene when Yelena, it starts with her, Yelena, they kind of say it like that in the movie, when she does the swan dive off the building. She fucking did that shit in real life. She didn't do the fucking parachute afterwards. They had her attached to a cable and everything. But Florence Pugh wanted to take that leap. She took the leap. And then when she's walking out of the building, she has to destroy the evidence. And it's a cool scene. Like, they have that cool hallway shot where it's just, you see her from above, but her shadow, you could see it like fighting. Very cool. Everything, the way the movie was shot, beautiful, edited, awesome. Like, all of that behind the scenes technical stuff, A+ on this Thunderbolts. But when they blow up the lab, they actually like had that explosion in real life as well. They were like, we're blowing up the fucking building and we got one shot at this. So like, action, here we go. And I love the little detail that she took the guinea pig out with her. She's like, fuck them, but I'm taking the guinea pig.
I would have minded if the guinea pig was like, you know, in the post credits, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. And she has a name for him that's very Marvel centric. I would have definitely
the guinea pig's that. in the fucking cup holder of the limo or something.
Yeah. And like you said, with like the editing and the way it all kind of flows, I said it when we were just discussing when the spoiler free on the previous podcast. The Rap said this is the first MCU movie in years that doesn't feel like a hack job, and that all plays into it. Where it's like, and again, that's part of the reason why maybe the critics, it's like, oh, that just feels like a movie that was well done. The person had a plan for a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that's really all we want. Like, we're gonna say it's good, solid, whatever it may be. Just give us something that makes sense. Pop us in the fucking. If all else fails, just crack the glass in the post-credit scene and give us some fucking fan service or something that actually matters for the future, and you're gonna make us happy. That was honestly the entire fucking formula for the old pre-Infinity War MCU that kept the lights on and kept them humming. And then obviously they hit another level with those two Avengers movies. And I feel like this is just getting back to basics, for lack of a better term, Yeah. And Bob, we were in an IMAX theater, and I remember the first time I was in an IMAX theater in the city, that big old view of the building, that aerial shot.
Oh yeah,
kind of reminded me of a movie. Bob, what would you say that is?
Was it like Nolan 2008, like Dark Knight?
The Bright Day? No, The Dark Knight. Yes, Dark Knight. That was the
Oh, we can get into Dark Knight moments later too, because we had a couple. We had a couple moments during this movie where we turned to each other and real life was like, Dark Knight? You thinking what I'm thinking? Fucking Dark Knight? In the opening of Valentina, like her introduction, you see Bucky Barnes walk in. He has you could see him trying to be a politician where he doesn't know how to answer questions. He's like, the worrying accusations are worrying, and we're going to see how we can get to the bottom of the worrying accusations. Yes. And he walks in and they're talking about impeachment. I thought they were talking about Thunderbolt Ross. I thought they were talking about, like, we got to impeach the fucking president because he's the Red Hulk, but they're talking about Valentina because she's the head of the CIA at this point or something, and she's got all the Oscorp stuff. Not Oscorp, but they kept saying like Oz something, and I was like,
that fucked
Oscorp?
you up too, right?
Yeah. And it fucked Jake up too. As soon as Jake left, he was like, you thought they were saying Oscorp? I was like, totally. It was too close. But it's got your guy from The Wire. I don't know his name in The Wire, but you were immediately, you lit up.
You're going to love the Bunk in The Wire when you watch it.
Yeah. You were happy to see him in this, I assume.
And he did a great job. Like that panel that he's on.
Yeah.
And then just a lot of the back and forth he had, that felt like I could see him as a character. Like that probably I imagine plays like a real character. Mr. Gary. Was that his name? Mr. Gary?
Yeah, I think it was.
Which is weird. If your last name is Gary and you're Mr. Gary, but then the name Gary is just inherently funny on its own, that's just funny. I'm sorry.
It was SpongeBob calls a snail. He's like, hey, Mr. Gary.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. There we go.
It's Gary, but I think he's got to say that at some point.
Yeah. So the Bunk is awesome. And then there was another Wire character. I think it was a Wire character. Valentina's like right-hand man who was like
She was in The Wire?
No, her right-hand man. So when she's like,
her man, the Hank or something like that.
She's like, hey, go for lethal.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's Frank Zabaka. Season 2 gets a lot of hate, but I think it's such a good season. Everyone gives it so much shit because it is the first time you watch that season. It's a big change, but when you rewatch, there are so many great parts, and some of our favorite parts of The Wire are from season 2. But we're not talking about The Wire. I apologize. I just had to let that out.
And then Yelena talks to her dad, the Red Guardian intro, very funny, good DoorDash jokes, him brushing his teeth with the soap, I thought was funny.
And Yelena, when she just to go back for a second, when the opening like fight scene when she's talking to like the people, like the lab security guard and then the scientist, and she needs the face, everything comedy was done well, and the back and forth, I'm like, all right, that settled me at first, like, all right, we're in a good place, and then you lead to this, which
her shooting the guy in the face and being like, oh fuck, I needed that face, like that right off the bat was good. Yeah. And did you notice in the first scene you can see like bodies voided in that lab?
No, I didn't notice that.
I noticed it, and I was like, oh, they got to be coming back to that, and they do in the end, like the same. It's on the table where I guess Sentry was. Good stuff with Red Guardian. I really buy Florence Pugh as Jim Hopper's daughter, David Harbour's daughter. Like they have such good chemistry.
Cross universes now. He's now Harper.
I always confuse his real name with his Stranger Things name because I just think they're one and the same now.
They are. I don't care. David Harbour is such a fake name. It's Jim Hopper.
And then Valentina gives everyone one last assignment. and we get to the Dark Knight scene. Like immediately when it's Ghost walking in and she's like, yeah, I have someone fucking there for you. And you know, okay, this is where they're all going to meet and turn on each other and eventually team up. I turned to you. I was like, oh, everyone's getting this assignment, right? And you're like, yeah, it's like the Dark Knight. It's like the opening of the Dark Knight. Everyone's got each other. I'm like, oh my God, it is like the Dark Knight. Yes. And this rocked. Like, great action scene. This was the one that I need a fucking chiropractor for in 40X because, oh my God, every hit. We were like, oh my God, my headphones came off when I did that.
Bob got his ass kicked by his
But it was literally like, we had to hold on for dear life and we couldn't believe how much we were getting hit. The coolest shot, and I think it was in the trailer, is when the knife gets thrown and Ghost phases and it goes through her and she catches it on the other end. Really cool. And this is where Bob gets introduced as well. The Bob jokes, very funny. I'm going to have 1,000 new Bob memes when this hits digital. Like GIFs, videos, clips. Everyone's making Bob jokes. Liam, after the screening, was saying, he's like, you kind of got the Bob hair too, so maybe I could do a Bob costume at some point. And this was what I was saying in our original video. I think Louis Pullman was a blessing in disguise. Like Steven Yeun, I don't know how to say his last name. I'm a huge fan. Going back to The Walking Dead, I was a Steven Yeun stan. Literally, I was like, when Glenn's dead, I'm out. When Glenn died, I was out. I didn't watch the show anymore. I love him in Invincible. I know he's like a much more established actor than Louis Pullman. I think that would almost be a detriment to the Sentry role, though. He's 10 years older than Louis Pullman. I think having someone younger, less recognizable was the right move. And he crushed it. I thought Louis Pullman was awesome.
Yeah, I don't have as much of a input on Steven Yeun, I guess, as you do. But Pullman, and again, when you told me it was Bill Pullman's son, I kind of just been like, oh yeah, I see it. I like kind of just reminded myself about Bill Pullman. I love Bill. Shout out Bill Pullman. We're gonna shout out Bill Pullman.
Shout out Bill Pullman. I said this to Lady Fox too. I was like, I got to be honest. I know people shit on Nepo babies. If I like the dad or the mom, I generally just root for the kid. I'm not an anti-Nepo baby guy. This one, I was like, all right, Nepo baby worked out. I'm a fucking Bob stan now. We've got an MCU hero that's constantly being called Bob. I got new gifts.
Also, this happens to me sometimes, and I have to admit it on the pod, I'm not happy about it, but this does happen. During the movie, I was thinking, man, it's too bad his dad passed away, because Bill Paxton passed away. And I always get Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton confused, and I love them both. And I remember in Twister, I love Bill Paxton in Twister. Bill Paxton in actually True Lies might be the greatest like side character in the history of side characters. Unbelievable.
I haven't seen True Lies. I saw it on TV so many years ago. That's one I deserve. It deserves a rewatch for me.
And yes, get it without the TV, because a lot of the stuff they probably censored is much better.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Cameron is cooking in that movie. And the comedy is through the roof. But Bill Pullman, I love Bill. It's the fucking president. It's the Independence Day speech right there, right? Mm-hmm. So I love Louis Pullman in the role. That whole scene, I was waiting for the bus. I got the bus driver. Boom, bus driver comes in, knocks Bob over, and then we have the bank heist in Dark Knight. But that was like an underratedly like, okay, the action scenes were gonna be all right. We had the first one with Yelena, which the action scenes I was all right with that one. The second one I was like, all right, we're good. The incinerator's coming. You don't know if Ghost is gonna come back. They kind of leave you on the edge of your seat with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I liked the escape sequence. I liked how long the escape sequence was. I really took note of it on the second viewing. Like almost half the movie is just like them getting out of this place. But by the time they do get out and they're in the desert and shit, the movie's like an hour in. It's really impressive how much it like flows and how you're never really bored with it. But it's really just them fighting, realizing what's happening, kind of pseudo teaming up because they have to get out of the elevator. And that's a funny sequence as well, going up the elevator. And then you get the little glimpses and teases of what the Void can do. When they get out of the incinerator room, Florence Pugh has that first flashback to her first assignment in the forest where she fucking got her friend assassinated. Then later on, John Walker sees his wife yelling at him about the kid he's looking at. And I was also thinking that might be a meme too. People are going to Photoshop fucking Mets lose game and John Walker is depressed and it's like he's not even looking at his baby.
That's a pretty good one. Though also the way that the characters like interact with each other, I was like, oh shit, I hated John Walker the entire show And I already like him more in like this elevator scene. He plays the hard dickhead that everyone hates, but he does a good job at it. But you're like, I'm kind of warming up to him a little bit. Ghost, I mean, I guess I'll just Ghost, they really didn't advance all that much. I like looking back now.
True.
I don't know.
She had the least amount of screen time, probably too. Like, yeah, she was a good member of the team for like aesthetics, cool to have someone that has a power. But probably the least amount of like character development.
But it's like, you know what? Like you have her there and maybe advance her. Maybe you don't have, not every character has to become 1,000 times better, more likable. But she was perfectly fine. So, and like you said, it's like, all right, we got her on our side and she's pretty fucking good to have on our side. And then, that whole thing where they're climbing up and using each other, the sneeze stuff, all that stuff was good. Really
cucumber, when they're all yelling at him. That was really funny. The scene between Bob and John Walker where John Walker's like, I think we should fucking throw him back in there. He's like, you're Captain America? He's like, yeah, why would that be funny? He's like, because you're an asshole. He's like, what's going on? Like, that stuff was all good. I liked the immediate connection and like relationship between Yelena and him because he was like, you could just leave me down here. I think it'd be better for everyone. And she's kind of like, dude, the fuck's going on? Like, let's get up there and then you do what you got to do. And she was definitely the right call to lead a movie like this. Like, she feels like a leading character in an ensemble movie almost. And I'm a huge Anthony Mackie fan, but almost more than Anthony Mackie felt like in his own movie.
That's probably a fair point. The way it wouldn't have made, like, she couldn't lead one with like the real, like the OG Avengers, right? It would have felt very odd. But with this team, she does fill that role, and Florence Pugh in real life has become such a big star. It's like, all right, that makes sense. And honestly, there's something about the way she says Bob that just works. And I'm like, she's so soothing. And I'm like, I'm not Bob, but I'm pretty soothed by her voice, and I trust her right now. And I'm sure this is what Bob is going through, knowing Bob's probably super fucking powerful. And if he goes crazy, there's only one person I trust to turn Bob back into Bob, and it's that sweet little fucking Russian voice.
Part of the escape sequence, I noted that it's just another, I guess, trope that I love about movies or TV or whatever. When people come in, the SWAT team comes in and they got the laser sight, the laser pointers. Love that shit. Every time, like, oh shit, they get the laser pointers out. Such a cheap thing, but I love it. And then Bob's powers are revealed. So they do the escape. They go out in the gear and whatnot, and then Bob causes the distraction. This whole sequence where they're on top of that, like the vault that's on top of a mountain, and they have the big lights and all the SWAT trucks, felt so Spielberg-y to me. Like, it felt like we were watching like almost the end of Close Encounters or something like that, where it just felt huge in scope. I thought the Bob scene was cool, where he obviously doesn't have control of his power, so he flies all the way up and just crashes down. Another one. This was probably the hardest hit of 4DX.
Oh,
when Bob crashes down and you feel a shockwave, I think I got whiplash from it. It was crazy. I'm telling you, they need seatbelts in those things. But I like this sequence.
I think I got hit by like the theater. I wasn't even in 4D, but like the theater sound was like boom when he hits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're letting you know just how much of a thud that was. And the fact he survives it is going to be all that more impressive for the people when they find him. This is, again, you're throwing Spielberg Close Encounters, like, fuck it. Let's throw another classic movie and compare it to Thunderbolts. I'm in. I love when the superheroes dress up in the other guy, in like the bad guy's stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they don't just get out. It's like, hey, what's your number? Hey, what's this? And it's like in New Hope where they're like, what does he say? What's your code or whatever?
Yeah. I love the Family Guy parody of that scene is so good. Like, how are you doing? Good. How are you? And he's like, not good, man. Peter starts hosting a dating show right on the fly there. They do it in Endgame, right? Where Tony Stark goes down in the fucking SWAT gear and everything. And I love it's played very well where he's like, identify yourself. John Walker's got nothing. He just goes, no.
that stuff is so simple, but it works. And the humor definitely hit more so than I think we said Brave New World. There was a lot of like humor that just made no sense or didn't hit. The humor was back in this one, which is important, I think, with these Marvel movies. It's still fucking a comic book movie that's supposed to be fun at the end of the day.
And listen, I don't want to keep bringing up The Last Jedi. I know it's a sore subject.
God damn it, Rob. You doing it again to me?
I'm doing it again because I know people are going to feel the same way. The scene where they're all shooting Bob and they're lighting him up, and then they shoot from behind. Such a well, like, scened shot. Is that the staged shot? Such a well staged shot where all the lights are. They're coming towards the camera, and Bob stands up, and then you can tell he's got a fucking six pack and he's jacked and everything. That's straight up Luke Skywalker at the end when Kylo Ren's going more, and then he stands up, hits the fucking "you got nothing." Like, that really reminded me of that, and I thought it was funny when Julia Louis-Dreyfus grabbed the walkie-talkie during this. Probably 100 bullet holes into Louis Pullman's body, and she's like, "Ceasefire, ceasefire." At that point, either she knew like he's one of the more superheroes we've ever had, or it's like, lady, he's dead. Like, the ceasefire, you don't even have to yell. But all of that was good, and then it's played really funny as well when Red Guardian shows up for the save, and he's fucking honking the horn, and it's a limousine. You could tell it's a limousine eventually. And Florence Pugh just fucking puts her head in her hands. She's like, no, oh no. So funny.
We've all been there when our parents are showing up at the absolute worst time, and that's why, like, it's so believable the way she plays that and everything, every interaction she has when he starts telling stories. She's just like, "Dad, no, stop." It made it feel real. Like, they really do it. They really do a good job with that. Would you say so? I didn't watch Veep. Is this Veep-ish Julia Louis-Dreyfus here? I feel like this is kind of her character a little bit without maybe as smooth around the edges.
It sort of is. I'm like 6 episodes into Veep. We started it like a few months ago. So yeah.
I thought you watched the whole thing. I thought you were.
No. I mean, I love Julie Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld and random roles here and there, but only just started Veep.
Okay.
Also,
question rescinded for the record. You guys let us know if she's the Veep character, but less well-rounded, because she's like, Valentina's kind of flying by the seat of her pants in a lot of this stuff, right?
Yeah, and a big part of the movie is her like assistant as well. That's who I thought you were referencing from The Wire before. It's like, no way was she like fucking in The Wire, dude. She's like totally fine character, like serves her purpose and is fine with it. But there's a funny joke going back to when Red Guardian, right before he picks him up, where I think John Walker says something kind of corny. She's like, "Great work, Dr. Phil." And he's like, "Don't call me that." And he's going back and forth. He's like, "Yeah, I took him off cable, but he's probably in YouTube or something now." Like, that little, like, at the end of the scene as they're trailing up. I thought that was such a funny joke that in both screenings really hit.
Anyway, I was gonna say that hit in our screening, and he's like, it was a good show, and then kind of got canceled off air, but maybe he's on YouTube.
And then you get one of the more badass sequences in the movie, and definitely the one that made the theater cheer the most, especially the second night. Theater went fucking wild. It's them driving away in the limo, and you get a funny back and forth. They talk about the Thunderbolts name, which I was shocked that, like, Thunderbolt Ross is in the MCU. We're saying the Thunderbolts name had nothing to do with that. It was the West Chesapeake Thunderbolts soccer team. It was a weird choice. That was the only thing where I was like, I wasn't an issue in the movie at all. I was just like, weird.
I wanted to know why the asterisk was there. That's the one thing that
the ending is.
Oh, okay.
By the end of the movie, that ain't their name anymore.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I actually kind of liked it because it did definitely zag where I thought it was going to zig.
Yeah.
And it's true. Thunder, I thought they were going to be against it, and that's why they had the asterisk. But I liked it, and I liked the difference between whether it was the tire guy Sergey or whatever, he didn't have the money
mechanic and the girl that pooped, that was funny. She's like, someone pooped once, it was crazy, I was yelling at the referee. He's yelling that. But this is what had the theater cheering. Of course, they start getting attacked, and he accidentally throws on fucking like the Genuine switch, and the smoke hits, and that was funny. And then Bucky Barnes comes in for the save in such a badass way. It was actually, if I could compare it to a movie, it reminded me of The Dark Knight. when the kids are going pew 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 pew, and then the bat pod blows up all those cars, and they're like, "What the fuck, did we do that?" Florence Pugh comes out of the side of the car. She fires one bullet, and a car explodes. She gets back in the car and looks at David Harbour like, "What the fuck was that?" It's Bucky Barnes, and the reveal of him on this fucking motorcycle shooting these plates that explode had the theater going nuts. Almost gives me chills just talking about it right now because he looks like the fucking Terminator, especially when he pulls the shotgun out of the one of the cars and just fucking cocks it with one hand. It had to be on purpose in my mind. He is the fucking half man, half robot machine, whatever. But I was like, oh my God, they gave Bucky a badass scene. Then he grabs the cable, slams it down. The limo fucking flips after that because he shoots the limo with one after that.
Which
And
looks
when
like
the limo flips, it looked a lot like the 18-wheeler that flipped in the Dark Knight.
Thunderbolts asterisk says actually Dark Knight 2 pretty
The
much,
Dark
but in
Knight,
Marvel
yeah.
and no Batman or any big time.
But if you're gonna take inspiration, take it from the best. And this whole scene fucking rocked. It was so good. Another one that rocked me in 4DX.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
And then he takes them in because they could be. And again, it was just something that made so much sense. He's like, all of you guys are witnesses against Val in the fucking trial, in the impeachment trial. So I need to bring you in. And Bucky working as the senator and the Winter Soldier and trying to find the balance. And by the end of it, it kind of feels like he's like, all right, I think I got to go back to superheroing. It was good. And even her trying to develop Sentry because the Avengers aren't around anymore. And she's like, I could fucking maybe step up and take credit. Everything made sense. All the motivations were there. The Bucky stuff is funny with the packets when he's like, read the packets, Bucky. And then Bucky's late night reading the packets, spills the shit all over his arm, throws them in the dishwasher. Like they did a lot of good stuff that I also didn't expect. I didn't expect Bucky to get not as much, like he didn't get as much screen time as I expected. I said to you, he kind of felt like the Rick Flag of the group. If anything, he's the cop bringing the group together.
Yeah, but at the same point, I feel like every scene he had was like, it's crazy to say, like Yelena was definitely the leader of the group, but I felt like if you're doing like, if they were wrestlers, it felt like he was the closest thing to a headliner that they had.
Yeah,
right? Like he had
absolutely.
He's. I'm not saying Bucky's in the fucking World Heavyweight Championship, but like maybe Intercontinental. Which again, Bucky doesn't really get that kind of. I mean, think about all the other movies he's in. He's like C tier, D tier. Like I'm talking more Avengers stuff, but it's like they probably said to Sebastian Stan, listen, man. We're gonna get you in Captain America, and it's gonna, you'll have a couple scenes, they'll be all right. But like that movie is kind of that movie. But when you're in Thunderbolts, and they probably showed him this motorcycle scene, they're like, it's gonna fucking rule. You're gonna have some Terminator vibes, and the crowd's gonna go crazy. I liked the arm in the dishwasher. I'm a big dishwasher safe guy. Yeah. I said, if you try to sell me a glass or a mug or a plate or whatever, that is not dishwasher safe. You can fucking stop wasting your time.
Yeah.
I guess
I'm with you.
Right? I guess anything's dishwasher safe if you have the balls for it or don't care about your dishwasher. But I do care about my dishwasher. I don't want to have to get a new one. And the fact that they had his arm dishwasher safe, I think is fucking great. That's fucking
the Wakandans had to install that, right? That was, I think it was Wakanda. Yeah,
Wakanda. I take it back. I was gonna say, wait, American, Russian, and then nope. Wakanda.
Someone did bring in the fact they were like the top 3 Marvel movies on Rotten Tomatoes: Endgame, Black Panther, and Thunderbolts. What's the one thing they have in common? Sebastian Stan.
Wow. Big.
He could be the guy.
Sebi just catching W's right now. Good. My mom called me up and I told her about the movie. And she goes, "Oh, that's what that actor. He was in the Donald Trump movie." And she's like, "And what did she say?" She didn't. She said Sam. And I go, "No, Stan. Sebastian Stan." She's like, "Oh yeah." So I'm like, Sebastian Stan's being known as the guy from this movie with like 8 different actors. Good for him, man. Good for him.
People have said that in terms of, maybe not in terms of box office, but in terms of like good choices, good performances, that he might be one of the best MCU actors outside of the MCU. Like someone that really got their fame from the MCU and then went off to do actually great movies. He's got a lot of them on his resume.
I have a quick take about just because it had to do with the scene as well. And I don't think I'm alone, but I just want to hear your thoughts. I think riding in like an old school limo, like the one they ride, like obviously not a beat up one, but just regular limos like that, it's tacky and corny. Those things stink.
Yeah.
And that everything has the genuine with the lame lights, and you're just like, God, I don't want to think what was done in this last Saturday night and all the proms and gross bachelor parties that have whatever debauchery is taking place here. I just feel like skeeved out by them. And I guess if you get like a party bus or maybe like a giant SUV version, it's kind of still the same, but it's just better. Where like those limos, I associate with like the 1980s, You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very 1980s.
And maybe they had those vibes, especially because Red Guardian, Cold War and shit. And I loved the decal on the side of his limo. It was like, protect you from boring evening.
Yeah,
that was good. Then you get the Bob and Valentina stuff back at revealed Avengers Tower. She's bought it. We pretty much knew from the trailer and everything. But she goes and talks to him in that fucking padded room. Basically, he starts honing his powers. Then you get the Thunderbolts going to New York. And that was a funny scene, too. When Bucky's on the phone, they're all trying to tell him about Bob. He's like, enough about Bob. And he's like, Bob. And they're all like, Bob, yes, Bob. Yeah, Bob, yeah. So they have the team up scene. I loved it. Really, it was in the trailer, but it made me laugh in the movie and in context and everything. David Harbour's just cheer, his guttural scream of, yeah. It's like, we're going to glory. We're getting the glory. And then them going to New York, just seeing the area around Avengers Tower again, right by Grand Central, and them crashing into it. All of that stuff had Avengers 2012 vibes. It had kind of felt like that first movie a little bit. They go up, they fight Sentry. Great action scene. He beats the ever-living shit out of all of them. It was one of those things where everyone was like, how do you fight against that when he's fucking blacking out people into the pavement? You really don't. How do you fight against him? You really don't. They called him Earth's mightiest hero. His view, his look, his entire outfit, exactly like the comics. It looks so like perfect. The blonde hair jokes were great because he comes out in blonde hair, and I'm like, they better acknowledge that, right? You can't just change hair color like Super Saiyan or something. I know they do that in Dragon Ball Z, but what's going on? I loved all this shit. I mean, down to Bucky standing up at the end of that fight, throwing the punch, getting caught, and then he just rips the arm off and tosses it. And tossing the arm was so disrespectful.
Yeah, I like how he just wiped the floor with them, but also was like, I'm not going to murder you, but I'm just going to like let you know I can kick the ever living shit out of you. And then immediately he's like to Valentina, like, yeah, and you're nothing to me. I am a god, basically. So get the fuck out of here. The David Harbour guttural scream, I almost would have liked it. And it's not even a nitpick. It's just, I thought it would have been funnier if he did like one full scream, and then in mid-second scream is when they cut it. I think they should have cut it during the first scream, because you just like as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, I'm so happy for this fucking guy.
Yeah.
And when you cut those screams off early, I always feel like that's a great comedic thing that people do sometimes. So I loved it. That was a great call, Bob.
He's one. I'm gonna put this out there in the universe right now. I don't want this to happen. He's one I could see them for real killing off in one of the next Avengers movies, because he's so likable in this movie that it's like, are they gonna? He's gotten too much. He finally got his glory, and then they pull it. But like, Yelena can't go through another death like that right now, right? Like, she needs a little bit. Yeah,
she can't go through it now, but it's almost like she will be due for another. It's like Scarlet Witch. It's like she has to really dig her claws into how much she loves being with her dad again, to then get him taken away, to then get like full blown.
Should I beep that? Should I beep that for people that didn't watch? Yeah, I'll beep that part. I referenced the show.
I mean, you might not even have to. People probably don't know what the hell you're talking about if you don't say anything, but I don't know. It's up to you. I'm leaving that up to the editor's hands.
I'm gonna beep it. Just because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone ever. Good fight scene again, and then when they go up, Valentina is that exchange that you mentioned where he's like, "I'm a god." She's like, "You're throwing that G word around a little loosely." She gets on G word watch for a second.
Big G word watch.
And he has a great retort. He goes, "Well, you just said that I'm stronger than all of the Avengers combined, and they've got at least one god." So and it's like, fucking lawyered. You just got Valentina. She goes to hit the kill switch on him. He senses it. He's like, "You're about to turn on me," and fucking starts to get a little evil there. And then the assistant hits the kill switch. And as they walk away, his body blacks out and just the eyes light up. And I know that's how he looks in the comics and everything. It reminded me of that video game Limbo, which was like a strategy game. So creepy. Like, all of a sudden, for the first hour of the movie, kind of just feels like an action movie. Doesn't necessarily feel like a superhero movie. And then once the Sentry stuff happens, and once the Sentry fight, or his powers get exposed, really, then it really ramps up the superhero shit. And it just gets awesome from here. The Thunderbolts save a bunch of civilians on the ground from the wreckage that he causes as the Void when he voids out the helicopter, and then the helicopter goes into the building and everything crashes down. This scene where They block all the civilians from getting hit by the wreckage, and then they have that giant slab, which twice now I've thought the same thing. They have this slab and they're pushing it, and 5 of them show up, and it's nice to see all of them assembled, and then they flip it over. And nobody looked on the other side. Like someone could have been standing on the other side. Why didn't they just put it down lightly, gently put it down? But listen, the Thunderbolts aren't the Avengers. We can't be asking them of an A+ performance on their first day on the job, I guess.
Bob, I almost leaned over to you during the movie and said, what if there was someone on the other side of it? So actually,
launch it, right?
I would kind of like it if there were, like, when the Thunderbolts are doing stuff, they do kind of fuck up other stuff. Like, I don't want like a kid to be on the other side of it, but it's like, you didn't look at the other side, and maybe you crush someone's leg, and hey, the leg,
I was just about to say maybe the leg or something. Yeah.
But I thought that would be really funny. It's kind of like where the Guardians, they save the day, but then they fuck something else up, and then they're scrambling to.
And Red Guardian can be like, sorry, first day. You can make a joke out of it, and that could be really good. But when they get a clap from everyone around Grand Central last night at the screening, the theater started a fucking clap. Like people in the theater were like, we're proud of these guys. And it's all obviously the opposite of what Valentina wanted when she called the press to the building. They were supposed to be the bad guys, and Sentry's supposed to be taking them down. But now the whole public has seen this is a team that's helping us. And Red Guardian spots a little girl. There's a giant boulder about to hit her, runs over to her, takes the brunt of it, breaks around him, and the little girl gets voided out immediately. And both screenings, people were like, oh my God. Like people were gasping. It's played so well. And then that's where the void really starts spreading over the city. Cool looking. Again, what is rent in New York City in the MCU like? Because it has to be the lowest in the entire world, right? Because you can't go 2 days without a disaster destroying your apartment.
And like this one felt especially like haunting and daunting, because I'm just like, oh, New York City is just gone. Like everyone in it is just essentially gone. And this is the first time in a while where a villain actually had me sick to my stomach. I'm like, we can't beat this guy. We can't beat this guy. And this guy is just going ham on us right now. We are just getting our asses beat. And that girl disappearing, guttural reaction, like that was something that I almost want to go see it again just to hear the reactions for that. And listen, I'm letting Feige know this now. If there's another Tony Stark funeral, and you're going to have all the different characters from the MCU, and you throw a fucking rando like you did with the Iron Man 3 kid, let it be this girl, because we felt so awful and our hearts were broken for this girl. She needs to also wear a sign around her neck, be like, girl who got
I am the girl from Thunderbolts.
And you know what? If she's at the funeral of whoever this may be, I'll be like, you know what? I'm happy she's there. Like, hey, maybe it's Red Guardian's funeral, God forbid. And then we'll
knock on wood, Clem.
Knock on wood. We won't have the same obvious pull as Tony Stark's, but it would be nice to be like,
finally his glory.
I want to see that girl grow up, and like, I'm just happy she's back, because that was such a fucked up moment. And hey, credit to Marvel for doing that, because that takes a little bit of balls to like just straight up, you don't know where she's going, but it's just like, what the fuck? And I was like, sucks for those helicopter idiots. They're gonna be like the only people who really get hit by the Sentry until we stop them. Yeah. And then I was like, oh no, everyone's fucked.
But also, it seemed like at the end, everyone kind of just like came back to where they got voided. What's going on with those helicopter guys? Where are they coming back to?
That is a good question, because I was thinking like, what? And I was like, did anything really change? Helicopter guys definitely have.
They're fucked.
That's
they just vanish. They show up back in the sky and they start falling.
That's like all the people that they say were flying during the blip.
Yeah,
and then they came back and dropped to Earth.
That's tough. Maybe they've built nets in place for the event of another blip or something. I don't know.
Everyone just has like a parachute in their shirt that like automatically opens because of the blip.
The scene before the little girl void stuff, where they get into the back and forth, not fight, but screaming match about how upset and depressed Yelena has been, all the bad things she's done, and how David Harbour hasn't been there for her, Red Guardian hasn't been there for her. Great stuff. Like, felt so believable when she's like, all I do is I look at my phone, I think of the bad things I've done, I drink. Like, it just came off so genuine in a moment where you needed it to, because it's like, all right, you've done a lot of comedy. Now let's get the emotional hook of the movie right before the climax, which is that big dream sequence. Part of the thing I loved about the dream sequence, she goes into the void. And that was another thing where I was like, she didn't know if she was going to live or like, she might have thought she was dead there, but she took the shot, went into the void, and everyone follows her in. She meets up with Bob, and we get a glimpse into Bob's childhood. Thought it was a really neat detail that Bob's abusive dad calls him Bobby. And that was what John Walker, U.S. agent, was calling him the whole movie. And you could see him getting a little annoyed every time he said Bobby. And it was his dad. What the only person in the movie to call him Bobby, the only two people are those two. So I thought that was cool, like a little detail. And then we see you got to beat the void, you got to overcome this mentally. The whole movie is kind of about overcoming like mental health struggles. I think it's kind of all an allegory for that.
Disney's doing it again.
Yeah. You see the void like at the end of that lab hallway. I mean, there's also one thing in this sequence when they show the chicken with the sign. I was like, all right, this is a really serious scene, and they're showing the chicken. Ridiculous. It's not like it doesn't take me out of it, but I was like, oh, we're doing the chicken. Okay. And then as Bob is fucking beating the hell out of the void, the rest of the characters tell him that's not the way to beat him, and they all grab him. The first showing, as soon as they all grabbed him, I leaned to Clem. I go, I gotta fucking piss before the post-credit scene. It was the most I've had to pee in my life, so I ran out. Thankfully, a second showing, I came back and, of course, saw what came of this, and Bob forgets everything, and then they get tricked into going on into a presser by Valentina. Amazing the way she tricks him. The way they're like walking after her. They're about to fucking arrest her. They think they're all badass. And then they're in front of the public being announced as the new Avengers. And the last thing we see is Yelena leaning into her ear and being like, you know, we own you now, right? Like, this is our fucking squad. You just announced this as the new Avengers. And a great way to end it. I love the credits that it switched to Thunderbolts, and then it said the new Avengers. Reminded me of Falcon and the Winter Soldier credits, switching to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Like, that was a cool moment.
Yeah, and we said like all the different magazine covers and stuff they had in newspapers.
Yeah.
Like that stuff that I would love to see them have. I don't know if they need to sell it, but it was like, oh, that's funny. And you know, and everyone, not my Avengers, which if they tried to promote these guys as the real Avengers, I can't even imagine the outrage that would go on.
Yeah.
Online. And I'm actually kind of interested to see, like, there's people who don't realize that it's clearly not going to happen like that.
Well, they joke about that in the post-credit scene too. They're like, well, fucking Sam Wilson trademarked the name, and then they're like, well, who's going to be the real Avengers if we're both the Avengers? And I think John Walker's like, according to all of the memes I have been reading online, not us.
Not us. And I remember earlier in the fight, I'm like, oh, so then the media will show up and be like, oh, these guys are the heroes. And the fact that they're like, nope, that's not happening, but we are going to get you with the media hook. You're just not going to see it coming. And they completely blindsided me with that. I was just like the idiot Thunderbolts walking right into the presser. So they definitely did a great job of setting all that up. So I appreciated that. I was also like, and again, this is like just my brain. I'm not criticizing the plot, but I'm like, how are they like the only 4 people in New York and they're like fighting through different rooms and they're able to find Bob, but no one else can find Bob? So I was very confused of how that all worked, but like, who cares?
At that point, Harrison Ford, it ain't that kind of movie, kid.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also loved when she announces them as the new Avengers. A subtle moment in that scene that really made me laugh is Bob on the side clapping for them.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
And him not remembering anything, I believe, is a play on his origin in the comics, which is that he was one of the original Avengers and all of them got mind wiped and they don't remember him being a part of the squad. This is in the comics, not the show or in the MCU. A lot of people thought, would they retcon Avengers 2012 and be like, he was there the whole time? They're not doing that. I'm interested to see how comic book fans will take that. Like, I think some people will be upset just because you're changing anything, you're changing the origin. But I think the way they introduced him in this movie made a whole lot of sense and was just, it worked for the MCU. Like this was kind of fitting for him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a separate entity. So I'm fine with it. People are gonna be upset about everything on both sides, no matter what. I think they did what they had to do, and I think it fits their world. Again, I really would have loved to have seen the iconic shot of the Avengers, but it's like Thunderboltsy, where
He's in the
maybe
middle
they're
of it or
fucking up,
something. Or
or
yeah.
like there is some sort of a way where you got because that was such a moment. That's the moment of the first
It
Avengers
would
movie.
be funny if they started a circle up and someone like fucked something up, so the circle up like stopped mid
Yeah,
shot
someone ties their shoe, they get
handheld.
down,
Yeah.
or someone gets hit in the head with a piece of debris. I think it could have been funny, but that was just something that I also called. I was like, I'm calling it now. Wrong. We're gonna put that one as an L.
And then we got first post-credit scene, a funny one where it's Red Guardian at the grocery store showing another shopper the Wheaties box. He's kind of like, I'm on the Wheaties box. And she just runs away, puts it down. Very funny. But it turned to you, I was like, next one better be fucking good with the way people were hyping it. And the next one was really good. It was what we mentioned a couple seconds ago where we were talking about the trademarking of the name. The new Avengers logo, that A, fire. I love it. I think that was really cool, modern, kind of different twist on it. And then Red Guardian walks out in the NASCAR style jumpsuit with New Avengers with a Z. He's like, New Avengers with a Z. He's got all the sponsors on the side. He's got Tide on the side. He's got fucking, I think he did have, he had Barbasol and he had Wheaties was a sponsor on one of the sleeves. Told everyone on the team he said, it's soft like baby seal, which was great, like fucking David Harbour accent work. And then they get a notification, incoming ship into the stratosphere. We look at the ship. If you've seen the Fantastic Four trailer, you might recognize it because it spins around, reveals the Four. Big pop in both theaters. People were going nuts for that. I kind of sniffed it out though in the credits, Clem, because the last song they list for the movie says Fantastic Four theme by Michael Giacchino in the credits before this post-credit scene. I was like, whoa, what was that? It said Michael Giacchino, Fantastic Four theme. That wasn't in the movie. I knew it wasn't in the movie. And there you go. Our tease for the Fantastic Four. And we did get the Thunderbolts and Bob will return.
Or was it the Avengers? The new Avengers.
Oh, was it the new? It was. Yeah, it was the new Avengers. And it was. Yeah, and Bob will return. And the and Bob got like one last laugh out of the theater too.
Yes. So I think we can agree that, and this is my guess. I guess not agree. My guess is that the Fantastic Four is coming into this universe, and whatever happens in their universe, they somehow got out and they're coming into the MCU. I think if if Fantastic Four had never been announced and that was the reveal, I think that would have hit the holy shit level of like hype I was getting for what this post-credit scene was going to be. The fact that they've already obviously gotten them into this is like, oh shit, now we're here, baby. The Fantastic Four is in our MCU. So I definitely understand, big thing. But again, just on the hype level, I think for it to hit that level, for it to hit what people were saying, I think that would have had to been the kind of reveal where it's like, no one knows. It would have been like, oh shit, Thanos has the gauntlet now. It's like, oh shit, Fantastic Four is here. And then the next, Monday, they're like Pedro Pascal, or I guess they would probably announce the casting in the movie maybe a little bit afterwards. But something like that, I think, could have been a bigger fuck moment. But still, like, it's still obviously a massive moment for the MCU. And
still a really good, when you put it in the grand scheme of post-credit scenes, we've gotten so many, especially in this phase with fucking Roy as Hercules. We got Harry Styles as a random cat. We've gotten so many. Kate Blanchett, I think it was Kate Blanchett or whoever, Charlize Theron as a random Doctor Strange guy. There's so many fucking random ones. This one was kind of like, all right, MCU Fantastic Four introduction, and it kind of teases the first scene that they're going to have in Doomsday. I would presume, based on this, will be them and the Thunderbolts together, which will also be intriguing to see.
Yeah. I don't know how it's all going to go, but, and again, you said it, you're like, I'm excited to have the Thunderbolts back in Avengers, which is something that you may not have been able to say like when the movie was announced in 22 or even before this movie. And now it's done. The trailers did a good job getting it hyped. The reviews took it a lot of the way, and whoever made the movie, I don't even know the director, did a good job getting us there.
Let me shout out that I think his name is Jake Schreiber. Jake Shrier. It's a weird name, but he was the guy that did Paper Towns, which is like a young adult movie, and then I believe he did Beef, the show with Stephen Yeun, which everyone loved. He won a bunch of Emmys. I think he might have won a Golden Globe for it as well. He did a great job with this movie. Overall, very happy with the end product. I will be rewatching Thunderbolts pretty often, I think. Like fairly often in terms of how often I rewatch Marvel movies. I like to throw them on in the background while I'm doing stuff. This is one that moves quick. That's like what I look for. A movie that doesn't really have any downtime or boring scenes. There's none in Thunderbolts. It's just a solid movie. Solid.
movie. And Bob, if that movie were to be a fast food item, what would you say that fast food item would be?
I kind of alluded to this in our video. I said it's like a cheeseburger with no extra ingredients. It's just a cheeseburger. And I would say a cheeseburger from Shake Shack, actually. I had Shake Shack this week to do a little bit of research. And I didn't add anything to the Shake Shack burger. It was
sauce? No shake sauce?
No, shake sauce. I did Shack sauce. I did do that, but nothing else. It was just cheese, patty, a little bit of lettuce, Shack sauce. That's it. A very simple burger. And I got to be honest, Shake Shack isn't my favorite fast food burger. I think it's a very good one. I think it's really good. I don't know if I would say it's great. I would say Five Guys is great. I'm more of a Five Guys guy myself. But because of that, I'm going Shake Shack burger, single patty. Not doing double patty. Single patty. And it's exactly what you want it to be. You could scarf it down, that potato roll. It's nothing you haven't seen before, but it's a burger done right.
Okay, I like that. Mine is onion rings from Burger King.
Oh yeah, I love onion rings from. So I guess that's good.
So we have so usually I'm not an onion ring guy. I've made that known, but I think one of the best parts about Burger King. I'm not an onion ring guy, but if you crisp the onions enough, I love them. But I don't like crunchy onions. I just don't like that in my sauce. I don't like it in my onion rings. I don't like it in anything. However, if you crisp it enough, they're great. Now, the thing about Burger King is Burger King, let's be honest, kind of sucks, right? And I do think the Thunderbolts as a premise, there's a ceiling. Just like there's a ceiling with what you could get at Burger King. Hold on a second. AJ, I'm talking and we're making a fast food analogy right now. With that being said, when I get a little onion ring in my Burger King French fries, it is so good. I absolutely love it. I am on cloud nine, and that's it. Like Thunderbolts, sometimes they're good in little doses, a little bit of Bucky, a little bit of Yelena. However, this is all them, and again, it's not bad. It's just not bad. It's solid. I'm happy with it. Again, it's not like I'm going to go to Shake Shack or Five Guys. There's plenty of other better options out there, but those onion rings, man, they just hit.
There we go. I think that's a good one. And onion rings, you know what you're getting from them from Burger King every single time. I think that's a good pick. I go with the Shake Shack burger. Clem goes with the Burger King onion rings. And that is Thunderbolts from My Mom's Basement. I hope you enjoyed the movie as much as we did. And I think we're in a good place for the MCU with the Fantastic Four on deck.
Perfectly said. Bob, I mean, what are we doing here? Fantastic Four. Is this like we're getting like a free meal on the plane? And if this meal hits, it's like the greatest flight. Are we getting like upgraded to first class? Like, I don't even know. I feel like we've been on this flight now, the 2025.
Yeah, it's a long flight.
And I feel like we're like, maybe it's like, oh, we're going to give you free Wi-Fi or something. The Wi-Fi is humming, there's a lot of ways this Fantastic Four.
If Fantastic Four lands the plane,
there we go.
When we leave it, they're giving us a first class voucher. And we're like, oh my God, we're flying first class with the Avengers. We don't know if it's going to be a good experience or not, but we're flying first class for it.
Yep. Perfectly said.
There we go. We'll talk to you next week.